Light Packaging 1622 video.
Now that our temperature has come up to 300 degrees on the shrink tunnel, obviously this machine isn't all in one unit, but it's the same sealer and tunnel. With yours, you'd be able to adjust. You can have a handle in the front so you can adjust it forward and backwards. And what you want to do is, when you're running your product, you want to make sure when it comes out of the sealer that always enters the shrink tunnel in the middle of the shrink tunnel. You don't want it to be on the side because it'll start burning whichever side is closer to. So you want to make sure it's in the middle of the shrink tunnel. So now we'll go ahead. We have it set to 1 second seal time, as you can see over here, or 1.5 seconds. And we have the timer for the conveyor set at 3 seconds. So now we're going to go ahead, seal the product. You don't need to put that much pressure because the magnets will hold down the seal bar for you. You want to make sure it goes in the middle of the product. As you can see, you want to make sure all seals are completely closed. There's no holes. And the way you ensure this is you have to make sure that there's perforation on the film. If you notice that it's blowing up or bubbling, that means there's not enough perforation. So with the shrink film, like I said, you gotta make sure when you adjust the perforation that it's actually where you're actually packaging the product. So you want to make sure it's in the same section. If it's too far off to the right, you're not gonna get any perforation. If it's too far off on the left, you're gonna start getting open seals. So go ahead and do a few back to back. You want to make sure that when you do seal it, you don't want it to be too big of a bag, but you also don't want it to be too tight of a bag. So you just got to find the happy medium. No tension. Once you get the good flow of this, you guys will be able to do about, let's say, about 8 to 10 a minute. So now if you start noticing it's sticking, you just gotta play around with, it was either the tension was too much or the seal time wasn't enough. So what we can do is we can adjust this a little bit higher, come back over to the compensator and make sure this hasn't moved. It's still in the same spot, 1/8 of an inch gap. So go back here. You have to also remember, if you're not running the machine continuously, the blade will cool down. So I would suggest to do a couple empty bags before the next run, because when you run them back to back, the blade stays warm, so you don't get any issues with the blade sticking to the shrink film. I come over on the shrink tunnel side. Right now we have it set, the speed of the shrink tunnel set to 6. Over here you're going to see this is the air velocity. You want the air velocity always to be on high. That's what helps shrink down the shrink film. You have to always make sure the heater is on. What else do we have over here? Once you're ready to shut off the machine, all you got to do is turn the heater switch off. Once the temperature controller is at about 170 degrees, it'll automatically shut off. So you don't have to even stand around and wait for it. You don't want to shut off the machine completely when the tunnel's still hot. So just turn off the heater. Once it drops down to about 170 degrees, it'll automatically shut off. But in the meantime, we're still running it. Another thing you want to look at, we're going to turn off the sealer over here. If you're noticing that it's not sealing correctly, you also have to look at the level of the magnets. Right now, you're going to see it's about a 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch gap. You don't want this magnet to be too close to the magnet because you're not going to get enough pull for the seal, and if it's too far out, then it's not even going to draw it either. So you gotta have that happy medium there as well. And you have to make sure both sides are even. And right now we're testing it with it off so that you can see the gap. So once you have it on, you can see that once it pulls it in. If it's too far out, it's not going to pull it in. If it's too close, it won't pull it in either. So that's another thing to look out for. What else is there? I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you guys have any questions, you know where to call me.